Your presence makes these stories worth sharing. We'd love to hear, which part of the world are you joining us from? Let us know. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. Severed Ties. A steady autumn rain beat against the windows of Pike County Courthouse as Harlan Mercer waited for Judge Laurel Weinstein to sign the final divorce papers. At 42, Harlan sat straight-backed in his tailored charcoal suit, a physical embodiment of the self-control that had made him one of Pennsylvania's most formidable criminal defense attorneys. His calloused hands, remnants of his working-class upbringing, rested on the polished table, betraying nothing of the storm churning inside him. Across the room, Bethany Mercer, soon to revert to Bethany Lafferty, sat beside her boyfriend, Ryan Steiger. The sight of Ryan's hand resting possessively on Bethany's thigh made Harlan's jaw clench imperceptibly. Only 6 months ago, Ryan had been a client Harlan had successfully defended against aggravated assault charges. The man's gratitude had apparently extended to seducing Harlan's wife of 15 years. The terms are straightforward. Harlan's attorney, Marlene Wu, summarized. Mr. Mercer will maintain primary residence, and Ms. Lafferty receives the vacation property. Joint custody of Theo with alternating weekends and holidays. Child support as calculated by standard guidelines. Judge Weinstein nodded, reviewing the documents. Relatively amicable as these things go. I appreciate that. Harlan's eyes flicked toward Bethany. Amicable wasn't the word he'd choose. Calculated was more accurate. He'd learned long ago that revenge was best served cold, methodical, and within the bounds of legal procedure, at least initially. One final matter, Judge Weinstein said. Theo's birthday falls this Saturday. As per the agreement, Ms. Lafferty will host the celebration, but Mr. Mercer is entitled to attend for 2 hours. Ryan leaned forward, jaw tight. Your Honor, given the circumstances. The agreement stands, Judge Weinstein interrupted firmly. 2 hours, Mr. Mercer. I trust everyone will behave appropriately for the child's sake. Outside the courthouse, Marlene touched Harlan's arm. You okay? Fine, Harlan replied, watching Bethany and Ryan hurry to their car. Still don't understand why you didn't fight for the full value of the practice. She gets half despite the fact that you built it while she was. It's not about the money, Harlan cut her off. Marlene studied him. You've got that look. What look? The one you get before you demolish a prosecution's case. Harlan allowed himself a small smile. I need to prepare for Theo's birthday. As he walked to his car, his phone buzzed. A text from Pascal Bennett, his former military buddy who now ran a private intelligence firm. Information secured. Meeting tonight? Harlan typed back, confirmed. 9 p.m. The rain intensified as he drove away, his mind already mapping out the next moves in a game Bethany and Ryan didn't yet realize they were playing. Chapter 2. Hidden Cards. The Bennett security offices occupied the top floor of a converted factory building in downtown Milford. Pascal Bennett greeted Harlan with a firm handshake, his prosthetic right hand cold against Harlan's palm, a souvenir from their final deployment together in Afghanistan. Coffee, Pascal offered, leading Harlan past rows of monitors where analysts worked quietly. Thanks. Harlan settled into a chair in Pascal's office. What did you find? Pascal slid a tablet across the desk. Ryan Steiger is a careful man, but not careful enough. 3 years ago, he was working security for Westridge Pharmaceuticals. During that time, he developed a side arrangement with Del Mar cartel affiliates, helping them access proprietary formulas. Harlan raised an eyebrow. That wasn't in his criminal record. Because he was never caught, Pascal replied. The company suspected something, but couldn't prove it. They fired him quietly to avoid scandal. That's when he moved to Pike County and eventually became your client. And Bethany? Pascal's expression tightened. She's been planning this for over a year. Found text messages between them dating back 14 months. She's been feeding him information about your cases, your schedule, even your security system. Harlan nodded, his face betraying nothing. The trust fund, untouched, as you suspected. $2.3 million sitting in an offshore account under her maiden name. She never disclosed it during the divorce proceedings. And Theodora Lafferty? Pascal tapped the screen, bringing up a photograph of an elderly woman. Bethany's great-aunt. Terminal cancer, 6 months tops, according to her medical records. Bethany is her only living relative and sole beneficiary. Estate valued around $4.7 million. Harlan processed this information silently, pieces clicking into place. There's more, Pascal said carefully. Your son's medical records. Harlan's expression hardened. Show me. Pascal pulled up documents on a tablet. Theo's allergies. The medical forms Bethany submitted to the school last month removed your son's peanut allergy from his official records. For the first time, a flicker of genuine emotion crossed Harlan's face. Raw, unfiltered rage that vanished almost immediately behind his professional mask. One wrong snack could put him in anaphylactic shock, Harlan said quietly. I've already contacted the school nurse anonymously. The records have been corrected, Pascal assured him. Harlan stood, buttoning his suit jacket. I need one more thing. Judge Sylvia Monroe. Pascal frowned. Family court? She's incorruptible, Harlan. I don't need corruption. I need her schedule for Saturday afternoon. Understanding dawned on Pascal's face. The birthday party. Can you give me a direct line to her chambers? Pascal nodded slowly. Consider it done. As Harlan turned to leave, Pascal called after him. Harlan, whatever you're planning. Don't worry, Harlan replied without turning around. Everything will be perfectly legal. That's not what concerns me. Harlan paused at the door. What does? I've seen that look before. In Kandahar, before you walked into that compound alone. Harlan's lips curved in a cold smile. Then you know what happened to the men who underestimated me. Chapter 3. The Birthday Blockade. Saturday arrived with picture-perfect blue skies, as if the universe were mocking the darkness of Harlan's purpose. He parked his Mercedes a block from the sprawling Tudor home he had once shared with Bethany, the house where he'd carried her across the threshold, where they brought Theo home from the hospital, where he'd found them together 4 months ago. Harlan checked his watch. 2 p.m. exactly, the time stipulated in the court order. In one hand, he carried a carefully wrapped package. In the other, his phone with Judge Monroe's direct number programmed and ready. Children's laughter echoed from the backyard as Harlan approached the front door. He rang the bell, straightened his tie, and waited. The door swung open to reveal Bethany in a floral sundress, her smile evaporating at the sight of him. Behind her stood Ryan, arms crossed over his chest like a bouncer. What are you doing here? Bethany demanded. Harlan's voice remained steady. I'm here for Theo's birthday. As permitted by court order. Ryan stepped forward. The party's already started. Theo doesn't need you ruining it. 2 hours, Harlan replied. Judge Weinstein was quite specific. Bethany's sister Liv appeared in the hallway behind them. Is there a problem? No problem, Harlan said calmly. I'm simply exercising my legal right to attend my son's birthday celebration. Ryan positioned himself in the doorway, physically blocking entry. Listen, you pathetic deadbeat, get lost. Nobody wants you here. Bethany stepped closer, her voice dropping to a hiss. You think anyone in there respects you? After what happened? After I left you? You're nothing but a joke to them. Harlan's expression remained impassive. The court order, Bethany. Ryan placed a hand on Harlan's chest. Court order doesn't mean shit here. Try to push past me. See what happens. From the corner of his eye, Harlan noticed 2 security guards, friends of Ryan's from his bouncer days, approaching from the side of the house. Mr. Mercer, one called out. Time to leave. He placed a firm hand on Harlan's shoulder. For a moment, everything balanced on a knife's edge. Harlan could feel the weight of the guard's hand, see the smug triumph in Ryan's eyes, the contempt in Bethany's. Then Harlan did something that visibly unsettled them all. He smiled. Without a word, he placed Theo's gift on the doorstep, turned, and walked calmly back to his car. Once inside, he dialed the number and waited. Judge Monroe, came the crisp answer. Your Honor, this is Harlan Mercer. I apologize for disturbing your weekend, but there's an urgent matter regarding a child welfare concern and violation of court orders that requires immediate attention. 10 minutes later, he watched from his car as Bethany's phone rang. The transformation on her face was visible even from a distance, shock followed by fear. She handed the phone to Ryan, whose expression darkened as he listened. Moments later, Liv came rushing out of the house, face pale, as she hurried toward Harlan's car. "What the hell did you just do?" she demanded, her voice trembling. "The judge called and immediately wants to see us. All of us. Today." Harlan stepped out of his car, adjusting his cuffs. "I simply reported a violation of a court order and potential child endangerment." "Child endangerment? Are you insane? Removing Theo's peanut allergy from his medical records?" Harlan's voice was deadly quiet. "What would you call it?" The color drained from Liv's face. "Bethany wouldn't. Tell her and Ryan to bring Theo to Judge Monroe's chambers in 1 hour. I'll meet you there." Harlan opened his car door. "And Liv, this is just the beginning." Chapter 4. Chambers of Truth. Judge Sylvia Monroe's chambers felt unnaturally quiet for a Saturday afternoon. The typical courthouse bustle was absent, leaving only the soft ticking of an antique wall clock and the occasional rustle of papers as the judge reviewed the documents before her. Harlan sat perfectly still, a statue of patience. Across the room, Bethany repeatedly checked her phone while Ryan fidgeted with his watch. Theo sat between them, playing a game on a tablet, headphones isolating him from the tension saturating the room. Judge Monroe finally looked up, her steel-gray eyes moving deliberately between the parties. At 67, her reputation for no-nonsense justice was legendary in the county. "I've reviewed the evidence Mr. Mercer has provided," she began, her voice carrying the weight of decades on the bench. "Falsification of medical records, violation of custody orders, and what appears to be a pattern of parental alienation." Bethany straightened. "Your Honor, those accusations are documented." Judge Monroe interrupted, holding up a folder. "School records showing the removal of a life-threatening allergy. Text messages between you and Mr. Steiger discussing ways to prevent Mr. Mercer from seeing his son. Testimony from the security personnel Mr. Steiger hired stating they were instructed to remove Mr. Mercer by any means necessary if he attempted to attend the birthday celebration." Ryan leaned forward. "Judge, I can explain." "Mr. Steiger, you have no legal standing in this matter," Judge Monroe stated flatly. "Your presence here is purely as an observer." The judge turned to Theo, her expression softening. "Young man, would you mind stepping outside with my assistant for a few minutes? She has some books you might enjoy." After Theo left, Judge Monroe's demeanor hardened again. "Ms. Lafferty, these actions constitute contempt of court at minimum. At worst, they could be grounds for modification of the custody arrangement." Bethany paled. "You can't." "I absolutely can," Judge Monroe cut in. "And given the documented risk to the child's health, I'm inclined to issue an emergency modification today." "Your Honor," Harlan interjected smoothly, "if I may offer an alternative." All eyes turned to him. This was the moment he'd orchestrated, the pivot point in his carefully constructed plan. "I have no desire to disrupt Theo's life further," Harlan continued. "Children need stability. What I propose is this. We maintain the current custody arrangement, but with court-mandated supervision of Ms. Lafferty's parenting decisions regarding medical care and education." Judge Monroe considered this. "You're being remarkably generous, Mr. Mercer." "I'm thinking of my son," Harlan replied simply. What he didn't say was that this was merely the opening gambit, the sacrifice of a pawn to position his knights. The supervision would require weekly meetings, documentation, and scrutiny that would soon become a noose around Bethany's neck. Additionally, Harlan added, "I request that Mr. Steiger have no involvement in decisions regarding Theo's well-being until such time as the court deems appropriate." Ryan surged to his feet. "This is bullshit. You can't. Mr. Steiger." Judge Monroe's voice cracked like a whip. "One more outburst, and I'll have you removed. You have no parental rights here." Bethany grabbed Ryan's arm, pulling him back to his seat. Her eyes never left Harlan's face, finally recognizing the trap closing around her. Judge Monroe made her ruling. Supervised custody for Bethany, weekly reports to the court, and restrictions on Ryan's involvement with Theo. As they left the chambers, Harlan paused beside Bethany. "You should have read the divorce agreement more carefully," he murmured, "particularly the clause about endangering Theo's health." "This isn't over," Bethany hissed. On that, Harlan agreed, We are in perfect alignment. Outside, Pascal waited in an unmarked car. How did it go? Phase 1 complete, Harlan replied, watching as Bethany, Ryan, and Theo drove away. Begin Phase 2. I want everything on Ryan's former employers at Westridge Pharmaceuticals. Board members, security protocols, internal investigations, all of it. And Bethany's great aunt. Arrange a visit. Tell her I'm handling a revision to her estate planning. Pro bono, of course. Pascal raised an eyebrow. You're playing a dangerous game. No, Harlan corrected. I'm playing their game. They just don't know the rules yet. Chapter 5. Aunt Theodora's Bequest. Riverdale Palliative Care Center sat on 15 manicured acres overlooking the Delaware River. Harlan navigated the hushed corridors with the confidence of someone who belonged there, nodding to staff as he passed. The bouquet of lilies in his hand completed the image of a dutiful family visitor. Room 317 was bathed in afternoon light when he entered. Theodora Lafferty lay propped against pillows, her once substantial frame now fragile beneath the blankets. Despite her illness, her eyes were sharp and assessing as they fixed on Harlan. You're not from hospice, she stated flatly. Harlan placed the lilies on a side table. No, Ms. Lafferty. I'm Harlan Mercer. Recognition flashed across her face. Bethany's ex-husband, the lawyer. She studied him for a moment. You've got some nerve showing up here. I've been told that before, Harlan replied, taking a seat beside her bed. I understand you've been working with Brady and Winters on your estate plan. Theodora's eyes narrowed. Bethany mentioned you were conniving. Seems she undersold it. Bethany tells many stories, Harlan responded evenly. Some truer than others. Get to the point, Mr. Mercer. I'm dying, not senile. Harlan appreciated her directness. Your estate is substantial. Currently, it's structured to pass entirely to Bethany upon your death. She's my only living relative. Is she? Harlan removed a folder from his briefcase. Did you know that Bethany has been systematically endangering your great-great-nephew Theo's health by concealing his medical conditions? He placed documented evidence before her. The altered school records, affidavits from the school nurse, Judge Monroe's ruling. Theodora's hands trembled slightly as she examined the papers. Why would she do this? Control, Harlan replied simply, and to remove obstacles to her relationship with Ryan Steiger, who, incidentally, has a documented history of violence and connections to drug trafficking. He showed her Ryan's sealed criminal records, which Pascal had obtained through channels best left unexplained. Bethany told me you were abusive, Theodora said, watching his reaction carefully. Did she mention specific incidents? Theodora hesitated. No, just that you were controlling. Ask yourself, Ms. Lafferty, in the 15 years you've known me, have you ever seen evidence of that? Or is it possible Bethany is projecting her own behaviors onto me? Silence filled the room as Theodora absorbed his words. Finally, she sighed heavily. What do you want, Mr. Mercer? I'm not here for your money, Harlan assured her. I'm here because Theo deserves protection, including from his mother if necessary. And you expect me to disinherit my only niece based on your say-so? I expect nothing, Harlan replied. I'm merely providing information you deserve to have before finalizing your estate plans. He stood to leave, placing his card on her table. Whatever you decide, I wish you peace in the time you have left. As he reached the door, Theodora called out. Mr. Mercer. He turned. I've lived long enough to recognize genuine concern, she said quietly, and genuine manipulation. Sometimes they look remarkably similar. Harlan nodded. The difference is in the outcome, Ms. Lafferty. Who benefits from your decision, and who suffers? 3 days later, Harlan received a call from Gerald Winters, Theodora's estate attorney. Mr. Mercer, Ms. Lafferty has requested your presence for the signing of her new will tomorrow at 2 p.m. She was quite insistent. When Harlan arrived the following day, he found not only Theodora and her attorney, but also Bethany, her face tight with barely contained fury. Welcome to our little gathering, Theodora greeted him, her voice stronger than during his previous visit. I made some changes I thought everyone should hear directly. Gerald Winters cleared his throat uncomfortably before reading the new provisions. 20% of the estate to Bethany outright, 30% to Theo in a trust managed by a neutral third-party trustee until he reached 25, and the remaining 50% to establish a foundation for children with severe allergies, with Harlan appointed to the board of directors. Bethany's composure shattered. "You can't be serious. After everything I've done for you." "Yes, let's discuss what you've done," Theodora interrupted coldly. "Like telling me Harlan couldn't be bothered to visit when I was hospitalized last year, when in fact you never told him I was ill. Or perhaps how you've been systematically overdosing my pain medication on the days before my cognitive assessments with Dr. Feldman." The room fell silent. Harlan hadn't known about this last detail. His respect for the elderly woman increased substantially. "You're confused," Bethany tried, shooting a venomous glance at Harlan. "He's manipulating you." "The only person who's been manipulating anyone is you, Bethany," Theodora stated firmly. "I may be dying, but I'm not a fool. Gerald has already documented my mental competence with 3 independent psychiatrists. The will stands." After the papers were signed, Harlan helped Theodora back to her room, leaving Bethany with the attorney. "She'll contest it," Theodora said as he adjusted her pillows. "She'll lose," Harlan replied confidently. Theodora studied him. "You didn't tell me about the medication." "I didn't know. But you're not surprised?" "No," Harlan admitted. "I'm not." Theodora patted his hand weakly. "You're a dangerous man, Harlan Mercer. I hope my great-nephew has inherited your spine rather than his mother's ethics." As Harlan left the facility, he spotted Bethany in the parking lot, speaking intensely with Ryan on her phone. When she saw Harlan, her expression transformed into pure hatred. Harlan merely nodded politely as he passed. Phase 2 was complete. The financial foundation of Bethany's future was crumbling, and with it, he suspected, Ryan's interest in their relationship. Now was time for Phase 3, dismantling Ryan Steiger himself. Chapter 6, The Westridge Gambit. Westridge Pharmaceuticals' headquarters dominated the Philadelphia skyline, its glass facade reflecting the setting sun as Harlan rode the elevator to the executive floor. The email from Carson Westridge, the company's CEO, had been unexpected but not unwelcome, a perfect piece falling into place. "Mr. Mercer," Carson greeted him, rising from behind an imposing desk. At 65, he remained imposingly fit, his handshake firm. "Thank you for coming on such short notice." "Your message sounded urgent," Harlan replied, taking the offered seat. Carson nodded gravely. 3 days ago, our security team detected an intrusion into our research database, specifically our newest cancer treatment protocols, a potential billion-dollar breakthrough. "I'm sorry to hear that, but I specialize in criminal defense, not corporate espionage." The breach originated from an IP address associated with Ryan Steiger, Carson stated flatly. "Our former security consultant." Harlan kept his expression neutral despite the surge of satisfaction. Pascal had done his job perfectly, leaving digital breadcrumbs that any competent security team would find, but nothing that could be traced back to the actual source. "That's quite a coincidence," Harlan remarked carefully. "Is it?" Carson slid a folder across the desk. "Our investigation uncovered communications between Steiger and Del Mar cartel affiliates dating back to his employment here. We believe he's selling our research. Have you contacted the authorities?" "Not yet." Carson leaned forward. "We understand Mr. Steiger is involved with your ex-wife." Harlan raised an eyebrow. "You've done your homework. So has your friend, Mr. Bennett. He reached out to us last week with concerns about industrial espionage. Very patriotic of him." The 2 men regarded each other with mutual understanding. No explicit acknowledgement of the choreographed nature of this encounter was necessary. "What exactly are you asking of me, Mr. Westridge?" "Your expertise in negotiating with the Justice Department," Carson replied smoothly. "If we report this directly, it becomes public. Stock prices plummet. Investors panic. If, however, a respected attorney with federal connections helps facilitate a quiet investigation." Harlan nodded slowly. "I can make some calls. Arrange a meeting with the appropriate officials. Properly framed, this could be handled with discretion." "Excellent." Carson stood. I've taken the liberty of preparing a retainer agreement. As Harlan signed the documents, Carson added casually, "Oh, and we've scheduled a board meeting for next Friday to discuss the situation. Your presence would be appreciated." Friday? Harlan echoed. That's Theo's weekend with his mother. Bring him along, Carson suggested. My grandson is about his age. They could swim in the company pool while we meet. Harlan smiled thinly. That's very thoughtful. I'll need to make arrangements with Bethany, of course. Of course. Later that evening, Harlan called Bethany as required by the new court supervision order. I need to switch weekends with Theo. I have an unavoidable meeting Friday. Absolutely not, Bethany snapped. You know we're taking Theo to Ryan's lake house that weekend. It's been planned for weeks. I understand, but this is a significant client. Perhaps Ryan could. Ryan has already taken time off work, Bethany interrupted. The answer is no, Harlan. I see, Harlan replied evenly. In that case, I'll need to inform Judge Monroe about the change in plans. The supervision order requires disclosure of all overnight trips with Theo, particularly to remote locations. Silence stretched across the line. Fine, Bethany finally hissed. But you'll take him the following weekend instead. Thank you for your flexibility, Harlan responded politely. I'll pick him up Friday at noon. After ending the call, Harlan texted Pascal. Lake house plans canceled. Proceed with installation. The reply came moments later. Team already in place. Equipment ready. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. By Friday, Ryan would be meeting with federal agents about the data breach. By Saturday, the lake house would be ready for its purpose. And by Sunday, the final phase would begin. Harlan poured himself 2 fingers of bourbon and raised a glass in a silent toast to the coming storm. Chapter 7. Federal Interest. Friday morning dawned with a thunderstorm that matched the mood inside Ryan Steiger's apartment. Bethany paced the living room while Ryan hurriedly packed a suitcase. I don't understand why you have to go now, Bethany protested, following him into the bedroom. We were supposed to leave for the lake house in 3 hours. Ryan stuffed shirts haphazardly into the bag. I told you, Carson Westridge called personally. Said there's been a security breach and they need me to consult on the investigation. Why you? You haven't worked there in years. Because I designed part of their security system, Ryan snapped. Look, this could be a huge opportunity. If I help them identify the breach, they might bring me back with a promotion. Bethany's eyes narrowed, and the fact that Harlan suddenly needed to switch weekends with Theo doesn't strike you as suspicious? The timing is just a coincidence. Ryan paused, doubt flickering across his face before he dismissed it. Harlan doesn't even know about my history with Westridge. He's not that connected. You underestimate him, Bethany warned. He's been 2 steps ahead of us since the divorce. Well, I can hardly refuse when the CEO calls personally, can I? Ryan zipped his suitcase closed. Besides, Westridge is talking about a $50,000 consulting fee. We need that money, especially after your aunt's little bombshell. Bethany fell silent at the reminder of Theodore's will. The loss of millions she'd counted on still stung deeply. Fine, she conceded. But I'm telling you, Harlan is behind this somehow. You're paranoid, Ryan replied, checking his watch. I've got to go. I'll call you tonight after the meeting. Ryan kissed her quickly before grabbing his bags. Reschedule the lake house for next weekend. By then, we'll have the Westridge money to celebrate with. Across town, Harlan sat in Judge Monroe's chambers, reviewing modifications to the custody supervision order. These provisions seem reasonable, Judge Monroe noted, scanning the document. Expanded visitation during summer months, joint decision-making on education, and continued supervision of medical decisions. Thank you, Your Honor, Harlan replied. I believe this arrangement best serves Theo's interests while maintaining stability. Judge Monroe studied him over her reading glasses. You know, Mr. Mercer, I've seen hundreds of custody disputes. Usually, the wrong spouse fights for every advantage. Revenge benefits no one, Your Honor, Harlan answered smoothly. Least of all Theo. Judge Monroe's lips quirked slightly. Very diplomatic. I'll sign the order today. As Harlan gathered his papers, the judge added, by the way, a colleague mentioned seeing you at Westridge Pharmaceuticals yesterday. Expanding your practice areas? Just helping an old friend with a sensitive matter, Harlan replied casually. Involving federal agents, from what I hear. Harlan met her gaze evenly. Corporate espionage concerns. Nothing that would interest family court. Unless it involved parties to a custody case. Judge Monroe remarked, her expression unreadable. For a moment, the air between them hummed with unspoken understanding. Purely coincidental, I assure you, Harlan finally said. Judge Monroe nodded slowly. Of course. Good day, Mr. Mercer. At noon, Harlan picked up Theo from Bethany's house. The boy seemed subdued, clutching his backpack tightly. Looking forward to our weekend? Harlan asked as they drove away. Theo shrugged. Mom said you ruined our lake trip. Did she? Harlan kept his voice neutral. I'm sorry about that, but I have something special planned instead. How would you like to swim a rooftop pool with a view of the whole city? Theo's eyes widened. Really? Really? And afterward, we can have dinner at that dinosaur restaurant you like. By the time they reached the Westridge building, Theo's excitement had overcome his initial reluctance. Carson Westridge greeted them warmly, introducing his grandson Brady before whisking Harlan away to the boardroom. Inside, two serious men in dark suits waited alongside Carson and several board members. Mr. Mercer, these are Agents Delaney and Sawyer from the FBI Cyber Division, Carson explained. Harlan shook their hands. I understand you're investigating a potential data breach. Among other things, Agent Delaney replied grimly. We've been tracking Del Mar cartel movements into pharmaceutical IP theft for months. Your client's situation fits a pattern. The meeting proceeded efficiently, with Harlan guiding the discussion toward a controlled investigation that would protect Westridge's stock value while gathering evidence. As they finalized the approach, Carson's assistant entered with an urgent message. Mr. Steiger has arrived downstairs, she announced. Carson glanced at Harlan. Perfect timing. Shall we proceed as discussed? Harlan nodded. Agents, if you could remain here momentarily, Mr. Westridge and I will greet Mr. Steiger and bring him up. In the lobby, Ryan's expression morphed from confidence to confusion when he spotted Harlan beside Carson. What the hell is this? Ryan demanded, stopping short. Mr. Steiger. Carson greeted him coldly. Thank you for coming. Mr. Mercer has been advising us on a security matter that appears to involve you. Ryan's eyes darted between them. I don't understand. Perhaps we should continue this conversation upstairs, Harlan suggested smoothly. Federal agents are waiting. The color drained from Ryan's face. Federal? This is some kind of setup. If you've done nothing wrong, you have nothing to fear, Carson stated. Fuck this, Ryan spat, backing away. I'm not falling for whatever game you're playing, Mercer. As Ryan turned to leave, two security guards blocked his path. Mr. Westridge would appreciate your cooperation, sir. Ryan's panicked gaze found Harlan, who simply adjusted his tie calmly. Running would be unwise, Ryan. It tends to imply guilt. Trapped, Ryan had no choice but to follow them to the elevator. As the doors closed, he hissed at Harlan. Bethany was right about you. No, Harlan replied quietly. She wasn't nearly right enough. Chapter 8. Lake House Revelations. The following weekend, Bethany drove alone to Ryan's lake house, her knuckles white on the steering wheel. The past week had been a nightmare. Ryan was under investigation for corporate espionage, released on bail, but facing potential federal charges. His assets were frozen. The promised Westridge consulting fee had evaporated. And somehow, Harlan's fingerprints were all over it, though she couldn't prove anything. She needed time alone to think, to plan their next move. The lakefront property, Ryan's pride and joy, purchased with cash through an LLC to hide it from his previous divorce settlement, would provide the perfect refuge. As Bethany turned onto the private road leading to the house, her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello, Ms. Lafferty? A woman's crisp voice came through the speakers. This is Nurse Wilkins from Riverdale Palliative. I'm afraid I have difficult news. Your Aunt Theodora passed away an hour ago. Bethany pulled over, a complex mixture of grief and calculation washing over her. I understand. Thank you for letting me know. Mr. Winters, her attorney, asked to be notified immediately. He mentioned there would be a reading of the will tomorrow. So soon. It was Ms. Lafferty's explicit instruction. The reading will be at 3 p.m. at Mr. Winter's office. After ending the call, Bethany sat motionless, processing this new development. 20% of Theodora's estate would still be a substantial sum, enough perhaps to cover Ryan's legal expenses. A grim smile crossed her face. Perhaps things were finally turning in their favor. She continued to the lake house, the familiar sight of the rustic cabin usually bringing comfort. Today, however, something felt off. The door was unlocked, though Ryan insisted he'd secured everything before his last visit. Inside, nothing appeared disturbed, yet Bethany couldn't shake the sensation of intrusion. She moved through the rooms cautiously, checking closets and windows. In the master bedroom, she noticed Ryan's laptop on the nightstand. Strange, since he'd taken it to Philadelphia. Curious, she opened it. The screen came to life without requesting a password, another anomaly. The desktop was empty except for a single folder labeled for Bethany. Her pulse quickening, she clicked it open. Inside was a video file. She pressed play. The footage showed the very room she was sitting in, but from weeks earlier. Ryan entered with a woman Bethany recognized as his administrative assistant. What followed was an intimate encounter that left no doubt about their relationship. The timestamp indicated this had occurred during a weekend Ryan had claimed to be fishing with friends, while Bethany was caring for Theodora. Bethany's hand flew to her mouth. As the video continued, the conversation afterward became even more damning. "When are you going to leave her?" the woman asked, curled against Ryan's side. "Soon," Ryan promised. "Once the old lady dies and Bethany gets her inheritance. Then we're good to go. You really think she'll give you access to all that money?" Ryan laughed. "She already added me to her accounts. Besides, she's completely blindsided by the custody battle with her ex, hasn't got a clue I've been moving her money into the offshore account." Bethany paused the video, her hands shaking. She checked her banking app and found her savings account nearly depleted. Over $200,000 gone, transferred in small increments over the past 3 months. Frantically, she searched through the laptop, finding detailed records of Ryan's dealings, the offshore account information, dates and amounts of transfers from her accounts, even emails plotting how to access Theodora's estate once it passed to Bethany. As the magnitude of the betrayal crashed over her, another file caught her attention: Westridge evidence. Inside were documents clearly stolen from the pharmaceutical company, along with communications to potential buyers, information that would devastate Ryan's defense against the federal charges. Bethany's phone rang again, Ryan this time. "Hey," she answered, fighting to keep her voice steady. "Where are you?" Ryan demanded. "At the lake house." "Where are you?" "Listen carefully." Ryan's voice was tense. "Don't go inside. Just turn around and leave right now." "Too late," Bethany replied coldly. "I'm already looking at your laptop." Silence stretched across the line. "It's not what you think," Ryan finally said. "Really? Because it looks exactly like you've been sleeping with your assistant, stealing my money, and planning to leave me once you got your hands on Theodora's inheritance." "Bethany, save it," she cut him off. "I've seen everything. The videos, the transfers, the Westridge files. It's over, Ryan. Listen to me." Ryan's voice took on a desperate edge. "That laptop wasn't supposed to be there. Someone planted it. Think about it. Who would benefit from turning us against each other right now?" Bethany froze. "Harlan." "Exactly. He's setting us both up. The laptop is probably being tracked right now. Federal agents could be on their way to the lake house as we speak." Bethany looked around frantically. "What do I do?" "Close the laptop. Don't touch anything else. Get out of there now." As Bethany moved to comply, her phone pinged with a text message from an unknown number. "I've forwarded copies of all files to the FBI, Ms. Lafferty. You have approximately 20 minutes before they arrive. I suggest you use that time wisely." "P. Oh my God," Bethany whispered. "What?" Ryan demanded. She read him the message. "Fuck." Ryan exploded. "This is Harlan's doing. His military buddy Pascal. They're behind all of it. What do we do?" "Meet me at the bus station. Bring cash, whatever you can grab. We need to disappear for a while." "What about Theo?" Bethany asked, suddenly remembering her son. Ryan's voice hardened. We don't have time for that now. It's survival mode. Theo's with Harlan this weekend anyway. The casual dismissal of her child struck Bethany like a physical blow. In that moment, everything clarified with terrible clarity. Harlan hadn't just orchestrated their downfall. He'd revealed their true characters in the process. I have to go, she said quietly. I'll see you at the bus station in an hour, Ryan replied. No, Bethany said. You won't. She ended the call and sent a text to the unknown number. Tell Harlan I want to talk. On my terms. The reply came instantly. The coffee shop across from the courthouse. 30 minutes. Chapter 9. Final Judgment. The coffee shop was nearly empty when Bethany arrived. Harlan sat at a corner table, 2 cups steaming before him. He rose politely as she approached, gesturing to the chair across from him. You look tired, he observed as she sat down. Cut the bullshit, Bethany snapped. I know what you did. Harlan sipped his coffee calmly. Which part specifically? All of it. The custody hearing, Aunt Theodora's will, Ryan's federal investigation, the lake house setup. You've been orchestrating everything from the beginning. Orchestrating? Harlan raised an eyebrow. An interesting choice of words. It implies I created something from nothing. You manipulated evidence. Planted that laptop. Did I plant Ryan's infidelity? Harlan asked quietly. Did I force him to steal from you? To conspire against a dying woman? To endanger our son's health by removing his allergy information? Bethany flinched at the last accusation. That was Ryan's idea. He said it would strengthen our case if we could show you were paranoid about Theo's health. And you agreed. I made a mistake, Bethany admitted, her voice breaking slightly. Several mistakes. Harlan studied her, his expression unreadable. What do you want, Bethany? To make a deal. I have information the federal prosecutors will want about Ryan's other activities, his real connection to Del Mar. I can testify against him in exchange for immunity for myself. And she hesitated. Reconsideration of the custody arrangement. Harlan leaned back, regarding her coldly. You believe you deserve another chance with Theo? After everything you've done? I'm his mother, Bethany whispered. Being a mother is more than biology, Harlan replied. It's choices, priorities, sacrifices. I know that now. No, Harlan countered. You know you've lost. There's a difference. He placed a folder on the table between them. These are the terms. Non-negotiable. Bethany opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a complete custody modification, granting Harlan full legal and physical custody of Theo. She would have supervised visitation twice monthly. Additionally, she would forfeit all claims to marital assets in exchange for Harlan arranging a plea deal with federal prosecutors. This is fair, Harlan finished for her. Considerably more than fair, given the circumstances. Tears welled in Bethany's eyes. I'll never see my son. You'll see him when it serves his interests, not yours, Harlan corrected, and only when you've demonstrated genuine reform. And if I refuse? Harlan's expression hardened. Then I stop protecting you. The evidence of your involvement in Ryan's schemes goes to prosecutors. Your knowledge of his corporate espionage, the altered medical records, the text discussing how to alienate Theo from me. Everything. Bethany stared at him, finally understanding the depth of the trap he'd constructed. You never intended to forgive me, did you? This was always your plan. Forgiveness requires remorse, Harlan replied. You've shown none until you were caught. As for planning, I simply created opportunities for your true character to reveal itself. And Ryan? Mr. Steiger made his own choices. His bail was revoked this morning when he failed to appear for a scheduled check-in. Border Patrol has been notified. Bethany's shoulders slumped in defeat. Theo will hate me. That depends entirely on you, Harlan said, sliding a pen across the table. Children are remarkably resilient when surrounded by stability and truth. After a long moment, Bethany signed the documents. As she rose to leave, she asked quietly, was any of it real? What we had? Harlan gathered the signed papers methodically. That's the wrong question, Bethany. What's the right one? Whether it would have mattered to you if it was. Harlan stood. My attorney will contact you about the visitation schedule. The FBI expects your statement tomorrow morning. Outside the coffee shop, Pascal waited in his car. He rolled down the window, as Harlan approached. All set. It's done, Harlan confirmed, sliding into the passenger seat. That was quite a game of chess you played, Pascal observed as they pulled away. Harlan gazed out the window at Bethany's diminishing figure. Chess implies equal opponents following established rules. And that's not what this was? No, Harlan replied quietly. This was justice. At home, Harlan found Theo in the backyard, teaching himself to skateboard with determined concentration. Watching his son's focused expression, so similar to his own, Harlan felt the weight of the past months finally beginning to lift. Dad, Theo called, spotting him. Watch this. Harlan smiled, a genuine smile that reached his eyes for the first time in over a year. I'm watching, he called back. I'm right here. As Theo proudly demonstrated his newest trick, Harlan's phone buzzed with a text from Judge Monroe. Custody modification approved. Effective immediately. Harlan slipped the phone back into his pocket without replying. The time for looking backward was over. Whatever came next, recovery, rebuilding, perhaps even redemption for those who earned it, would unfold on his terms. For now, watching his son in the fading afternoon light was judgment enough. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.